Hey folks, Renfail here. Hopefully you are doing well. Welcome to episode 1 of the new series, which we just are spinning up right now, called How to Make a Living Online as a Content Creator and Streamer. I did the announcement for this recently. We had a good response to it. We've had quite a few people ask some questions already. I'm going to start with the easiest one out of the gate, and then we're going to go from there. I don't have a set amount of episodes right now. We're going to go through all the questions. There's about half a dozen good ones that we can hit right now, and then we'll be adding to this over time. There is a playlist for this. If you are a long-term listener, you have probably heard me answer these questions in some shape or form over the years, and we've probably clipped a bunch of stuff out on YouTube, but I've never actually categorized things or organized it into a playlist until now because we've been getting a lot of people asking about it on TikTok and Instagram. So this is going to be the one-stop shop for me to place all the things that I've learned over the past 3.5 years of doing content creation and streaming full time. So the first question, and this first episode is going to be from frenchie-ZA over on that announcement video, says, I am a 9 to 5 at-home contract worker, and I have been looking into getting into YouTube with gameplay videos, and I don't know if I should start with recording gameplay and posting on YouTube before I start streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and etc. As a brand new creator and streamer with 0 followers, is there a hierarchy to follow, or are there other factors that will determine the process? So I could take you through my journey, a couple of the things I learned along the way, and hopefully that can help you expedite the process. So going from 0, no one's going to know you, right? That's the trick. You have to break through the noise. The reality is that's going to take time and effort. Before I did this for a living, we did brand consultations and brand management and a lot of marketing. And generally speaking, it is 2 to 3 years to get to the break-even point for most online brands. So first and foremost, just get it in your head that it's probably going to be 2 to 3 years before you see significant movement on things. Don't be afraid of that number. That's just the reality for most people. So here's the thing to think about. You should be doing both if you can. Even if you have a 9 to 5 job, as you say, all you really need to do is carve out for yourself a couple of hours. 2 to 3 hours every night is sufficient to do this. And what you should be doing is, if you can, every single night. If it can't be every single night, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever you can make work, you need to be able to go live for 2 to 3 hours. Before you go live, you should have in your mind a few things that you want to cover during your live stream. So there's a variety of things you can cut out of any given stream. One, of course, is the gameplay footage. This is great for creating a generalized let's play playthrough. These aren't going to get a lot of traffic as a general rule because there are tons of people doing playthroughs out there, and again, it's hard to cut through the noise. But it's free content in the sense that it doesn't take you any time other than the time it takes to edit those pieces into usable content. I say 2 to 3 hours because this is hopefully my power doesn't go out. We're having storms here. When you go live, if you go for 2 hours and you cut your episodes into 30-minute chunks, you're going to get 4 episodes of Let's Play content for the time that you're live. I absolutely recommend multi-streaming to a minimum of YouTube and Twitch. You can also multi-stream to YouTube, Twitch, and Kick if you want. You will need to pay for some sort of a license with like XSplit or Streamlabs because most platforms will only let you do one. You'll only be able to stream to one place for free. If you want to multi-stream, you'll have to pay for a pro license, but I highly recommend it because there's no reason not to be going as many places as live as you can. The video editing tools on Twitch are extremely easy to use, and they allow you to go into a stream after you're done, cut it into 30-minute chunks, and then you can export those chunks out to YouTube. That's the easiest way to get free content, those 30-minute chunks of Let's Play episodes. You could do them in hour-long chunks, whatever you want it to be. However, before you go live every single time, you should be thinking about a couple of different things that you want to record while you are live, because this allows you to kill 2 birds with one stone, essentially. One stone. Because rather than going live, doing that thing, and then finding time to record videos later, if you do it while you're live, you can clip that content out. You can also record the content while you're live and then video edit it out later, however you want to do it. But go into each video thinking about what is it that I want to create? Is it tips and tricks? Is it guides? Do I want to create, how-tos, etc.? What I did in the very beginning was I started with games that I knew, even though they were older games. I started with games that I already knew well enough to go into and say, I can make new content for beginners for these games. So I looked at Baldur's Gate 1, Icewind Dale, these older MMOs that I had played for a long time, like Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars: Old Republic. Even though those games had been out for many, 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 many years, there are always new players coming into these games. And even if you're only getting 30 to 50 people watching those videos, it doesn't matter, because in the early days, what you're looking for is traction and followers, and you're looking to establish yourself to have a voice. So pick a game that you know. Doesn't have to be a new game. Go into that game with the intent to create gameplay guides, tips and trick videos, how-to videos, secrets, things of that nature. And then outside of that, also be looking at the Let's Play sessions. So when you record a 2-hour session, you're going to get 4 videos that are the overall gameplay. Put those into a series. You might have 50 episodes in a series as you play your way through a game. And then every single time you're going live, you can also be on a notebook saying, okay, I'm going to talk about this topic, how to create, and this is the easiest way to do it. Character creation. Walk people through character creation for that game. Then give it a title that's something like character creation in this game in 2025 or 2026. Look online, Google that phrase, Google that the title before you make your title to figure out if someone has already made that kind of video, and then find videos that are already in that vein, what's working for other people, and then just sort of, you're not looking to copy those people, but if someone has a guide that says best character creation for new players in 2025, that's a good start. But you can say something like the ultimate character creator guide for 2025 for new players, something like that. You can find ways to spin that title out. While you're live, you talk about the character creation process. Boom, now you've got one video on top of whatever else you're doing. I've always preferred RPGs to get going, because RPGs, generally speaking, have classes. So it's really easy to go into character creation and do something like, okay, we're going to talk about character creation. Now we're going to talk about the races of the game. We could do a video on the races of the game. We could do a video on the classes of the game. We could talk about how the classes work in this game. We could talk about how the skill points or the attribute points work in this game. We could talk about the skill tree of the game. How do you level up a character? What are the best abilities for each class? I would say look at somebody like Mortisimo Gaming does really good guides as well, but I would say Slandered does this. Slandered Gaming does a really good job of this, where he has a really deep passion for like the Pathfinder game. So he has gone into Pathfinder Kingmaker and really Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, as well as Rogue Trader, and he has just pulled those apart and made these class guides and these ranked guides for all the different subclasses and the storylines and all these other things. But the key is that every time you go live, you want to make sure you're getting as many pieces of content out of those 2 hours or 3 hours that you can be live as possible. And it helps to have a list in advance so that when you're live, you can be talking about those subjects while you're live. That's showing it off to the people who are live. You might not have any viewers at the beginning. Don't worry about that. Then when you're done, you can cut those episodes out for your Let's Play series. And then apart from that, you can cut all those segments out, give them cool thumbnails, give them cool titles, push those live to YouTube. Now, what you're doing here is you're basically saturating the algorithm with content for that game. You're establishing that you're streaming that game, but you're also establishing that you're creating active new content for that game. You do need to pay attention to the titles and the thumbnails, so just look at what other people are doing in that space. But as a general rule, gameplay guides, class guides, gameplay description, tips and tricks, how-tos, those always work very, very well. Secret areas, best tips. What has worked very well for me has been beginner's guides, quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And those can take many shapes and forms and can have many different titles. Another thing that I will do is after I create usually after I play a game for a couple of weeks, I'll have enough information to go down and do like a big all-in-one guide for new players. Those are usually like 15 to 25 segments. I break those into chapters. And then that goes out as a big video. But then I save that video behind the scenes in my video editor, and I then break that video down into the individual 15 or 25 segments, and each one of those becomes a quick tip or quick guide or tip and trick guide, and I repurpose that content. So that content all came out in that big long hour-long video, but then I take those and I make these little 3-minute videos as well. And then I link all of those 3-minute videos back to the main video so that every time I publish one of those videos, it's linking back to the main video. That has worked very well for me over the years. And in the early days, that's going to generate traffic on your videos because you've got all of your guides linked together. And it will help you build up an audience who will then want to come watch your live streams. Because the reality is you're probably not going to have anybody watching in the early days, especially if you're playing older games. Even I, as someone who's, I'm not a huge streamer, but I'm established and I'm successful and I make a full-time living at this, my numbers do this, depending on what games I'm playing. When I'm playing new games, like the biggest games this year, things like South of Midnight, Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, those new games I'll generally have 120 to 150 people watching across YouTube and Twitch. With Dune Awakening, on our launch day we had like 750 people watching between the two streams, and then our averages were like 350 to 400 over the course of the first 2 weeks, and then we kind of dipped down into like 150 to 300 every day for like 6 weeks. But then going back now, I've been playing Neverwinter Nights 2, and I think my views for that are like 30 people, 30, 40 people, because I'm playing an older game. So even though I'm established and everything, new games are always going to get more traffic than old games, and that's something you have to keep in mind. So the big thing to understand is start with games you know, because that allows you to be an expert on that, even if it's an old game. Like I said, I started off with like Baldur's Gate 1 playthroughs, Quest for Glory playthroughs, Icewind Dale playthroughs. Go back to the very early channel videos on my channel, and you'll find playthroughs and guides for those old school RPGs. And even though those games have been out for 20 years, there are still new people coming into those games in 2024, 2025, 2026, especially with the enhanced editions. And you'll always find an audience for that. And then as you build up an audience who are watching your guides, you will eventually build up people who want to come watch you live. If you're doing those two things simultaneously, it's better. Now, ironically, I did not necessarily stream as much back then as I do now. The reason was because for me, once I got monetized, it was more financially viable for me to upload videos than it was to be live. So I always kept my lives down to around 2 to 3 hours minimum because I wasn't making that much money when I was live. I was making more money when I was uploading guides and long form content for all the different tips and tricks and things of that nature. So I stuck to that for the first, I streamed every single day, like 2 hours a day, but I didn't transition to 6 to 8 hours a day of streaming until June of 2024, which is when my audience for the live streams finally got to a point where I was able to make more money being live than I could make by uploading videos. And so I transitioned over because by that point I had built up enough of an audience on YouTube and Twitch to have subscription revenue, membership revenue, and enough ad revenue to make more than what I was making by uploading videos. So yeah, your path might be slightly different, but the big thing is just try to go live as often as you can. Have an established schedule. If you have a 9 to 5, I get that, but you need to just carve out like at least 3 times a week where you go live for 2 hours and then cut those videos down. If you're lucky, you can get 8 to 12 pieces of content out of a 2 hour live section, as long as you've planned out in advance the things you're going to talk about. And then also, as you grow bigger, what you'll notice is you'll start getting people who ask questions during the live streams. And so what I do is I keep a notebook nearby, and you'll notice things like I go through and I timestamp things, because as people ask questions, I go, that's a really good idea. Why don't we put that out as a YouTube short, as a TikTok short, as a this is a short, this is a short, this is a long form video. This over here was a short. This is a short. This is time stamped. This is an actual discussion video. I don't even know if I cut that one out yet. I'm just looking at this going, I think I actually need to go cut that video out. Yeah, I need to go do that, because that was a Destiny 2 video that someone asked me about and I forgot to do. So yeah, make a list, and then as people start to accumulate in your live streams, you'll get more content that they ask you about, and you can answer questions and do Q&As and things of that nature. So hopefully that helps. The big thing is that as you build up over time, that library builds up. And this will tie back into one of the revenue discussions we're going to have later, which is in terms of making money as a content creator and streamer, which is better. The reality is both are good, but I've always my strategy has always been to have a big catalog of videos behind me to support the streaming, which is why the first 2 years of me doing this for a living, I focused on uploading anywhere from 8 to 15 videos per day. That's not feasible for everybody, but I was going live for 2 hours every single day and then spending the rest of my time cutting videos and making guides and things of that nature. Now, I was full time that whole time. You're going to be working a day job, so it's not necessarily going to work the same for you. But what I was focused on was building up a massive backlog, because the reality is that, like right now, I have 8,800 videos on the channel as of this recording. And right now I'm doing 15 to 20 videos per day, not including my shorts, which I do on like TikTok and Instagram and everywhere, right? Um, anyway, if every one of those videos is making 1 cent per day, 8,800 cents adds up to a lot of dollars. But the reality is, not every video is making 1 cent per day. Some of the old videos don't make any money at all, but many of them do, and most of the new videos are making dollars per day, not cents per day. And as you start to create guides, I have guides that are 2 and 3 years old that still regularly show up in my daily list of top earners. For example, I have an Ultimate Beginner's Guide for Cyberpunk 2077. I've got one for Star Wars: The Old Republic. I've got some Lord of the Rings Online guides that do very well still. I've got some World of Warcraft guides that still do very well still. I've got Baldur's Gate 3 content that still does very well, and it's a couple years old at this point. So as you build up a back catalog of guides and tips and tricks and how-tos and everything else, those things can continue to bring in revenue even several years after the fact. So don't worry too much about what kind of traffic they're getting now. You're more worried about just building up a massive catalog so that the moment you do get monetized, all of that back catalog gets monetized the moment that your channel gets monetized, and all of that stuff will start earning revenue on top of all the new stuff you produce. So hopefully that helps frenchie-ZA and everybody else listening. Stay tuned for more. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. This is the first episode in this series, so check the playlist below. If you're watching this right now, there's only one episode, but I will be adding to this periodically. I think right now I'm going to try to do one a day. We've got like half a dozen videos I can go through right away. And then I got some other stuff that I've covered in the past that I'm going to go ahead and re-record for this series specifically, because I know people have asked things like, should I show my face? Do I not show my face? What's the best time to go live? What's more important, YouTube or Twitch? Do I need social media? Like, there's all these types of things that we're going to be covering, so stay tuned for that. And of course, if you have questions, let me know in the comments below, and we will look at things and see whether or not we can get them added to the playlist. Hopefully you found this useful. I'll see everybody in the next one. Daily streams, 4:35 a.m. Central on YouTube and Twitch. I'll see you guys in the next one.